On April 5th, 2004, a metal show takes place at Bogart's nightclub in Cincinnati. While the concert is in full swing, a fan jumps on stage. It happens from time to time. Normally, the fans are then led back into the audience without resistance. But this evening is different. The fan who stormed the stage starts a fight with a security guard who rushes over. Part of the lighting system is damaged, as is an amplifier. Bogart's club employees even call the police. However, the band playing that evening decides not to press charges against the fan. The musicians take the incident in stride. The singer even jokingly introduces the persistent fan to the audience as the fifth member of the band. Only 8 months later, the same fan storms the stage again at a concert by the same band. This time, however, he kills people. It was pretty clear that Darrell Lance Abbott would become a musician. He grew up in Texas in the 70s with his brother Vinny. Their dad worked as a producer and songwriter in the country music scene. But the brothers Darrell and Vinny weren't really into that kind of music. Instead, they discovered their passion for rock music. The Abbott brothers were particularly impressed by the band Kiss. Darrell played guitar and Vinny played drums. And so, in 1981, the two founded their own band, Pantera. Together, they wrote their own songs and played numerous concerts. At first, the band couldn't find a record label, but the Abbott brothers didn't let that get them down and kept working on their own sound. In the 1980s, they worked hard on their career. And after a lot of hard work and a few lineup changes, their big break finally came. The band signed a contract with a major label and took off. The group now consisted of the brothers Darrell, who had since taken the stage name Dimebag Darrell, and Vinny, as well as bassist Rex Brown and singer Phil Anselmo. Pantera sold more than 7 million albums. They were pioneers of groove metal and toured all over the world. Their LP, released in 1994, even made it to the top of the US charts. The band shaped their subgenre like no other and remains an important influence in the metal scene to this day. Until suddenly it's all over. Around the turn of the millennium, Pantera is plagued by internal conflicts. The brothers Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul simply couldn't get along with singer Phil Anselmo anymore. And that naturally affected the atmosphere within the band. In 2003, Dimebag and Vinny decided to pursue other projects. They formed a new band together so they could express themselves creatively away from the disputes with Phil Anselmo. This led to the formation of the band Damageplan in 2003. Dimebag Darrell and his brother are unable to replicate Pantera's success with Damageplan. Although the band releases an album and books an extensive US tour, the venues are relatively small. Ticket sales are not going particularly well either. And that's despite Damageplan offering tickets at a bargain price of $8. But that didn't matter to the band. Damageplan performed no matter how many people showed up. The band's devastation. Across the Nation tour took them to more than 30 cities across the US. In addition to songs from their debut album, they also played old Pantera hits. On December 8, 2004, Damageplan performed at the Alrosa Villa Club in Columbus, Ohio. The club can actually hold 600 people, but only around 250 guests show up. One of them is still standing outside when the opening act starts in the club. His name is Nathan Gale. Gale is approached by a passerby who asks him why he isn't going in to see the show. Gale replies that he doesn't feel like watching crappy local bands. He wants to wait for the headliners of the evening, Damageplan. But there's another reason why Nathan Gale doesn't go into the club and instead waits in the cold December air. He doesn't even have a ticket. This is also noticed by the club manager, who is keeping an eye on the situation in front of the Alrosa Villa. Nathan has been waiting at the tour bus of Damageplan before the concert to meet his heroes. And the manager has no interest in a fan without a ticket who is just hanging around in front of the club waiting for a chance to talk to the band after the show. So Nathan Gale is asked to leave. But Nathan doesn't go. The intro starts, and the band launches into the song Breathing New Life, the perfect opener for a wild concert night. If Nathan Gale hadn't jumped over the fence in front of the club at that moment and run straight to the side entrance. When concertgoers notice a man suddenly rushing toward the stage from behind, they don't think much of it. Maybe he's just a fan that wants to stage dive or wants to start a mosh pit. But Nathan Gale has something else in mind. He jumps onto the small club stage and pulls out a gun, a 9mm Beretta, and with it, he shoots Dimebag Darrell directly in the forehead. Gale screams something, but the music is so loud that it's impossible to hear him. At first, no one understands what's going on. The show has only been going on for 90 seconds. Many of the audience believe it's a rehearsed stunt and raise their fists. A security guard is puzzled because he thinks the band has suddenly brought small pyrotechnics with them. Nathan Gale is lightning fast. He fires his handgun 3 times at close range into Dimebag Darrell's head. A 4th shot hits the guitarist's hand. Only when the rest of the band stops playing and only the screeching feedback from Dimebag's guitar hangs in the air does the situation become clear. Dimebag collapses, bleeding. Nathan Gale now shoots indiscriminately into the audience. When Security Chief Jeff Thompson reacts and pulls him to the ground, Gale also fires at him. The Damageplan singer screams into the microphone, "Call 911." Then he runs off the stage. Most of the concertgoers panic and flee the building. 4 concertgoers pull Dimebag off the stage and lay him on the floor to resuscitate him. A female fan who is a nurse performs CPR on Dimebag. All this while Nathan Gale still has his gun drawn and is firing shots. 2 other concertgoers provide first aid to Security Chief Thompson. He also receives CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Again and again, the first responders have to spit out the blood of the wounded man that runs into their mouths. The concertgoers risk their own lives to help the injured. Later, it is assumed that Nathan Gale deliberately shoots at the people trying to help Dimebag. He hits Damageplan's tour manager in the stomach. The drum technician is also hit. 24-year-old Nathan Bray, who is desperately trying to revive Dimebag Darrell, turns to Gale and yells at him. He asks in panic, "What the fuck, man?" Gale then reloads his gun and shoots Nathan Bray in the chest. The 24-year-old concertgoer dies at the scene. A 29-year-old employee of the Arosa Club, Aaron Hulk, also dies from gunshot wounds. Nathan Gale hits him 4 times in the chest, once in the hand and once in the leg. Within minutes, numerous emergency calls are received by the police. The nearest police station is only 3 kilometers from the venue. The first police officer on the scene is James D. Nigmeyer. He enters the Arosa Club through the back entrance and sees Nathan Gale, who is still firing sporadically and is in the stage area. At the same time, Niggemeyer's colleagues arrive through the front entrance. When Gale notices that the officers are getting closer, he grabs one of the injured and holds him in front of him as a kind of human shield. The gunman is so distracted by the police officers in front of him that he does not notice James Niggemeyer behind him. First responders from the audience point at Gale and shout at the officers to shoot him. And that is exactly what James Niggemeyer does. Unnoticed by Nathan Gale, he jumps out from behind the drums on stage and kills him with a shot to the head. Afterwards, the police officer is visibly in shock and keeps repeating, "I had to do it, I had to do it." Before the police storm the Arosa Club and shoot Gale, Dimebag's brother Vinny flees in panic. He has just witnessed his brother being murdered before his very eyes. He runs to the Damageplan tour bus and climbs into the bed where his brother was sleeping just a few hours earlier. There he breaks down crying. On the evening of December 8, 2004, 5 people lost their lives at the Damageplan concert in Columbus. Among them was the gunman Nathan Gale. A ROSA employee Aaron Hulk also died. So did Damageplan security chief Jeff Thompson, concert-goer Nathan Bray, and guitarist Dimebag Darrell. The legendary metal musician was only 38 years old. Nathan Gale had more than 30 rounds of ammunition with him and could have killed even more people if James Niggemeyer hadn't shot him. The horror after the rampage is immense, and a debate about concert safety erupts. So do numerous rumors about the motive for Nathan's quadruple murder. One thing becomes clear very quickly. The target of the attack was Damageplan guitarist Dimebag Darrell. Several witnesses report that Nathan approached him deliberately, not other band members. Incidentally, Nathan Gale had received the murder weapon as a Christmas present from his mother a few years earlier. At the time, the young man was still in military service. Nathan Gale worked for the Marines for a time. However, he was discharged in 2003 after being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. This illness is also believed to have been a factor in his actions. After being discharged from the Marines, Nathan, who was already a big metal fan, took refuge in music. He had been a Pantera fan for a long time. Once, he went to a Pantera concert in Dayton, Ohio with friends. He got separated from his group, but returned the next day and told everyone that he had become friends with the band. Later, he claimed that the band had stolen some of his songs and released them without his consent. That's why he wanted to sue Pantera. Although Nathan wrote his own songs from time to time, he never recorded them or performed them live. And his claim that he knew the members of Pantera was also a lie. At first, he was just a fan, but over time, his passion became increasingly obsessive. This is also considered to be the motive for Nathan's rampage. He is said to have been disappointed by Pantera's breakup, and his anger may have focused on Dimebag Darrell, who spoke negatively about the band's final years in several interviews. Pantera singer Phil Anselmo also didn't have a good word to say about his former colleague Dimebag in several interviews. In a conversation with Metal Hammer in 2004, he said that Dimebag deserved to be beaten up badly. All of this may have led Nathan Gale to conclude that Dimebag Darrell was responsible for the breakup of his favorite band. All of this information is based on statements made by people who knew Nathan Gale personally. In fact, the police investigation found no connection between the breakup of Pantera and Darrell's murder. And that's despite the fact that Nathan Gale had already disrupted a Damageplan concert in April 2004 by jumping on stage. That was 8 months before Darrell's murder. The investigation was concluded in October 2005. No specific motive for the attack was officially determined. However, Phil Anselmo contradicted this in an interview in 2011. He stated that he had spoken to James Niggemeyer. Anselmo recalls the conversation as follows. "I knew exactly what he would say when I asked him why he shot Dimebag. He said the police found notebook after notebook in the apartment of that murderous motherfucker. Stacks of notebooks detailing how he was going to kill Pantera because they stole his songs. Kill Pantera, Pantera. Not once was any of us mentioned by name, and when we were, it was all 4 of us. But that was rare. So I said to this cop, 'You mean if I had played with Superjoint or Down that night, that motherfucker would have been after me?' And he just said, 'Absolutely.' He was crying, and all he could do was nod his head and say, 'Yes, absolutely.'" Dimebag Darrell was buried in a coffin belonging to his favorite band, Kiss. The coffin was personally donated by Kiss bassist Gene Simmons. Legendary guitarist Eddie Van Halen is donating a custom guitar to be placed in Dimebag's coffin. Eddie Van Halen was Darrell's biggest hero and had a major influence on his music. Just as Dimebag Darrell still influences the metal scene today, 20 years after his murder. Dimebag's brother Vinnie Paul is also no longer with us. The drummer died of a heart attack in 2018 and was buried next to his brother, also in a Kiss coffin. Vinnie Paul never reconciled with Pantera singer Phil Anselmo during his lifetime. He always held him indirectly responsible for the murder of his brother Darrell. Vinnie and Paul never spoke to each other again. James Niggemeyer, who shot Nathan Gale at the scene of the crime, left the police force in 2007. He was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, for which he was in psychological treatment for years after the shooting. In 2016, American singer Christina Grimmie was shot dead at an autograph signing. At the time, Pantera's official Facebook account posted the following: "We are so sad and disappointed to hear that Christina Grimmie was gunned down the same way as Dimebag Darrell. After Dime's murder, we all prayed that our industry, i.e. club owners and promoters, would do whatever they needed to do to protect artists from gun-wielding fanatics. Sadly, that is not the case, and another rising star had to pay the consequences with her life. Something needs to change. R.I.P. Christina and R.I.P. Dime, Jeff Thompson, Aaron Halk, and Nathan Bray." And that brings us to the end of today's video. This topic was requested by viewers. If you have a specific topic you'd like to see covered, please leave your suggestions in the comments. I look forward to reading them. At the same time, you'll also be supporting the channel because the more interaction there is, the more likely the video will be recommended to people who haven't subscribed to Insolito yet. Other than that, there's not much else to say. Thank you for your support and for watching, and have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching the video. I hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, bye everyone.